we'll get rolling here. So like Liz said, my name is Seppelt. I'm the Economic Development Director for the city. Just a little bit about me. This is really short. So spent some time in the Army, and that's me in front of my tank several years ago. Better picture of the tank than of me, I think. Went to University of Minnesota Morris for my undergraduate school. St. Cloud State was graduate for my graduate degree, my master's, and then now working for the city of Hutchinson. I'm going to talk about what's going on downtown, what's going on at the Enterprise Center, and more general stuff too. So downtown, there's a ton of activity going on right now. The biggest thing on the menu, I guess, is what's called the Landing. So that's going to be a new 81 unit market rate apartment building, and this is going to be right on the river, just a block west of Main Street. So it's going to be really pretty cool project. So the building itself, it's just a big reverse L, and it's 4 levels. So ground level, it's going to be, you drive in, park your car, and then there'll be 3 levels of apartments up above. And then I think just a couple of the key things, I mean, it'll have a rooftop, I don't know if that's going to show. There'll be a rooftop patio on this corner, and just for reference, Dairy Queen is right about here. So patio there, there'll be a stormwater retention pond on the other side. On the north side by the river, there'll be an outdoor patio for the residents and a fire pit. And then there's a dog park. There'll be a fenced-in dog park that gets built too. What they've told me is that construction would begin about September 22nd, I think. So just a couple weeks. And then, yep, the river would be at the top of the screen. Yep, so it'll be right on the river, basically. Yep. So start construction in a couple weeks, and then I would say 12 to 15 months to completion. So, I mean, that's just going to totally revolutionize downtown, because I mean there's going to be huge economic impact that goes with this. I mean it's going to be a $20 million project. So that's the biggest project downtown in the history of Hutchinson. And there'll be a ton of construction jobs. There's going to be a ton of contractors employed by this thing. There's going to be a lot of workers there. And then once, I don't know if I have it. No, I don't. You know, it's 81 units, so if you do the math, that's probably going to be 120, 130 people are going to be living there. And that's going to have a huge impact, because those folks are going to want an ice cream cone from Dairy Queen. They're going to come over to the VFW and have lunch. They're going to go to the movie theater. So this will have a huge impact on the downtown.
What's going to be the rent rate?
I think it's just market rent. So, you know, like a 1 bedroom would be maybe $1,100. And then I think they have 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms, that's probably $1,700, $1,800, I think. Yeah. So it should fit in. And then we're providing some public assistance that goes with this. So in order for that to happen, 20% of the units have to be available to people with low to moderate income. So there'll be a low income component to this. So yeah, yep, we're going to do a housing TIF district to make this thing work. Yep. This has been a many-year project. I mean, this was a lot of slave labor. So I'm happy that we're looking at the finish line all of a sudden. The other big project going on that's coming is the Jorgensen and Cook Jewelry are going to get removed. And we have a developer lined up. He wants to construct, I think it's going to be, well, the Jorgensen's 3 stories tall. So I think there's going to be a new hotel. It's going to be a boutique hotel. And so that will be 5 or 6 stories, 45 rooms, I think. And then maybe, we'll see, maybe on the top level there would be like this event center type of a thing with a lot of glass all the way around, so you really get the view, which I think that would be super cool. So I don't know if it's going to be quite like that, but that's what he's been telling me. So originally it was going to be Cobblestone Inn Hotel. It'd be more of a downtown version, but lately he's been saying it's more of a boutique thing, so it might be just a different brand. So this one is going to happen pretty darn quick. If everything comes together, The Jorgensen Cook buildings, probably late November, we'll get the wrecking ball. Over the winter, it's just going to be bare. I'm not totally sure when he's going to start construction on the new thing. It could be as early as next spring. It could be a year out. We just don't know. It kind of depends on the economy as a whole. So, wait and see.
There'll be 2 events coming up in the building before it's tore down.
Yep.
There's going to be a gala in there, and there's going to be a open house to the general public.
Yep, kind of give folks a chance to say goodbye to the Jorgensen. People ask me about the building itself. It's just at a point where it can't be saved anymore. The basement foundation, that's crumbling in, and there's water seeping in from the alley on the backside. And then the parapet up on top, that's collapsing. And so it's just kind of reached its life expectancy, and it's just at a point where you can't really save it anymore. So we're just gonna get that out of there. So hopefully that's all gonna come together. I've got a lot of slave labor ahead of me to make that happen, but we're on the path.
What's happening to
Cook's Jewelry, I think Alan and Jerry are gonna retire. Yep, they'll have their going out of business sale, and I think they'll call it a career. So, and they've been just fantastic to work with. Yeah, really super nice people. Yep. Another project that we're working on, and this would be right on the south side of Library Square. We're talking about creating what's called a festival street. And so that's a place that's designated for pedestrians and pedestrian level activity. And so the big feature there is there's going to be crisscross overhead lights all the way down the length of the block. So, I mean, it's really just going to be lit up like a Christmas tree. And then there'll be some sort of a gateway feature that gets built on the Main Street side. And initially, we're going to keep it open for vehicles, but then we'll have temporary structures that we can just close it off for when we have events for people.
So that's First Avenue?
Yes, First Avenue Southeast. So it'd be between Library Square and 101 Park Place. Yep. When we get to the finish line on this, the ultimate dream, I think, is that the whole street's going to get redone. The curbs will go away, so everything is flush with Library Square. It's all one level. And then where we have the pavilion that's there now, maybe we're thinking maybe there's a structure that can get built on the back of it that would blend in. Because they did, just as an example, I mean, they did a fabulous job with the library. Because you've got the historic structure, it looks beautiful, and then you have the additions. But when you look at it, you don't even see the additions. I mean, it just blends in. And so that would be kind of what we want to achieve, I think, if we go with doing something with that pavilion. But we want to set it up so that things can happen on the opposite side of the way that it is, I guess, because it's oriented into Library Square, and we're going to create this here street, and everything will be happening back. So this will be umpteen different events. I wonder if I have another picture. Yeah, there you go. You can see how the lighting would go. Yep, and super cool, and just going to be a real magnet for activity downtown. So you can see in the upper right there, the lights would crisscross. So I think we got to order like 16 poles or something that these would go in. And then we'll add in all kinds of amenities for pedestrians, so you have places to sit and all that stuff, and decorate it up. So I think it's just going to happen phase by phase by phase. So first thing we want to do is get those lights up, and then we'll see how the public responds, and then we'll add on from there. So it might take several years to get to where we want to go. I think that's it. Yeah. So this one, I'm not sure of the timing. With anything, it just depends on the budget. And so if we can scrounge up some money to do some of this, it could happen as early as next year, or might be 2 years, I don't know. Another thing that we're working on downtown is we just need to improve the signage, because it's hard for people to find the parking lots. And we have plenty of downtown parking, which is a big blessing. What we hear, though, is that people don't think we have plenty of parking, and that's just because probably not correctly signed for this stuff. So we're going to be adding, I think we're going to be adding some, these will be 2-foot square parking signs with the arrows at each of the intersections with a stoplight, just to help people know, hey, there's parking on each side. And then the other piece of it is that we're going to be putting in some big signs at the entrances of the parking lots themselves. So right now, where that arrow is on the left, there's a parking sign there. It says parking lot, but nobody can see it because it's not oriented toward Main Street. And that's the big thing that we're going to change. So we're going to get these newer signs that'll be oriented so you can see it from Main Street, because that's where the people are going to be coming from. So these will be 6, 7, 8, 9 feet tall, I would imagine. So they'll be big and they'll be noticeable, and they'll just help people find their way downtown. Another thing that we're working on, and this is actually rolled out right now, we have a smartphone app to promote the community, and it's got pretty much every single thing you can think of on it. All the events, it's got a calendar, it's got links to all the stores. If you want to look up and find out when the movie's playing, you can do it on the app. If you want to know when the Kiwanis meets, that'll be on the app. It'll have maps, art walk. It'll have recreational activities. It'll have just almost every single thing you can. When is the hardware store open? You can just look on the app. And then the stores themselves, they will be able to push specials and announcements and whatever they want through the app. So it's going to be kind of the ultimate one-stop shop for everything community-wide. School announcements will come out on this thing. If the city says, hey, there's no parking on this street because of construction, that would come through the app. If you want to know when the county fair is, that would be on the app. You name it, it's going to be there. So the app, it's actually out there now. If you go to the app store right now, Much and Hutch is what you look for, and you can download the app and you can test it today. It's really cool, and it's just going to get better and better and better. It's got different sections. You can see there's Austin, Minnesota has one, so they have dining, shopping, play and stay, so that has hotel information and such, live and work. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. Pat?
Is the chamber in charge of that?
I think it's sort of a joint project between the EDA and the chamber. So we rounded up some money to help implement this thing, and I think for now the EDA is supporting it from one year to the next, because there's sort of an annual membership fee or whatever to do this thing. So we're going to cover it now. We're going to be bringing back the Hutchinson Downtown Association. So I think this would land in their lap, and they would be in charge of it going forward. But for now, it's a partnership. State Theater is under new ownership. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. So Jason and Jenna, they're from California. They're from Hollywood. They're movie people. So they bought this thing at the beginning of the year. The EDA, we helped finance that. Citizens Bank was partner, and we were another partner. And that's just been fantastic. I think they've had huge success rolling out a lot of classic movies and cool movies and new movies and
Still good with popcorn.
fantastic popcorn. Yes. So we're super excited about that, and just build it up, keep building it up. So I mean, they're really we couldn't ask for better people to be running this thing, because they've got a real vision of where they want to go. So in October there's going to be Alfred Hitchcock Movie Festival, so that's going to be super cool, and Christmas things coming up, and they're just doing all kinds of cool fun stuff. That building has over a mile of neon in it. So, pretty darn cool stuff. So that's mostly the downtown. There's more downtown stuff, but those are kind of the highlights. Childcare is a big issue in the community, and so we're actively working on that. That's one of the ones I never dreamed would land on my desk, right? I'm thinking factories and workers and babies. That was never part of the equation, but it is now. So, okie doke. The problem is that we don't have enough child care providers, and really the numbers of this thing doesn't really pencil out. I mean, the economics of child care don't really work, because what mom and dad can afford to pay is below what it costs to actually deliver the care. And so, technical term is market failure. So we have a shortage of providers. We have a shortage of child care workers too, because you can't afford to pay these folks. I mean, you can literally make more money working at McDonald's than you can taking care of babies. and little kids. And so, yeah, that's an interesting situation. So Twin Cities don't have a problem with this so much because they have just higher incomes in the cities, higher median incomes. Mostly a greater Minnesota problem. Yeah, and when it comes to delivering childcare, it really boils down to two things. It's the cost for the facility, it's the cost for the staffing. And there's just not enough dollars involved in this to kind of cover both things. And that's part of the big problem. So here in Hutchinson right now today, what we're told is we need another 332 slots of childcare that today just simply do not exist. And that creates problems because sometimes that would mean that mom or dad have to stay home and not be working, so that takes them out of the workforce. Sometimes it means you go to other more challenging ways to get the child care, like grandma or auntie, and there's a lot of shifting and moving around, and that's hard on everybody, hard on the employee, hard on mom. And sometimes there's unlicensed child care that happens, and that's not good for kids. So it's a real challenge. So what we're working on at the EDA, we're trying to bring more resources to bear to help with child care, help get more child care providers online. We're putting emphasis on family child care, so that's when somebody would open up their house and, have 10 kids there and get licensed and go through all that process. So we're kind of emphasizing family child care because that's cheaper to deliver, right? You already have the facility, you already have your living room or your basement or wherever. So then really you only got to just cover the cost of staffing it, really. So we hope that we can make some progress there. And we do some grant writing. We're working really hard to get Guiding Light Early Learning Center online. That's a new child care center that will be opening on November 3rd. That's going to create 42 slots. So we did some grant writing with that, and we're pretty heavily involved in just keeping that moving forward. What's that?
Where's that going to be located?
That is at, I think it's Peace Lutheran Church. They had a daycare center there before that had closed, and that was a big, that was a big difficulty when that happened. So we're getting that one reopened. So it's going to start off with 42 slots as of November 3rd, and then it will ramp up. I think it can go to like 60 or something like that. And then we're, like I mentioned before, we're also working to cultivate the creation of these family child care businesses. So we're rolling out, we have a little grant program, so if somebody creates 10 slots, the EDA, we're going to write them a check for $2,200, $2,250, and we can go all the way up to $15,000. Because if you're setting your house up for childcare, that's expensive. You got to probably buy a fence for an outdoor play area. You might have to change out windows or doors or something just for the safety of the little ones. It's expensive. You could spend $10,000, $15,000 easy getting your house set up for childcare. So if we can help make that a little bit easier, that's what we want to be doing. So this is kind of how we've done so far. Over the last year or 18 months, we've had a number of family child care centers open. We've been able to help expand the capacity at Our Savior's Lutheran. So all told, I think we've got our fingerprints on about 109 daycare slots that we helped bring into being. So this is an ongoing thing. We're just going to have to keep working on it. Yeah, we'll see. This one's a real toughie because I just feel like there's larger economic forces that are pushing this all down, and we're trying to buoy it up, and I don't know if we can do that. I mean, there's bigger, broader things happening that are beyond our control. So we'll see. And then at the Enterprise Center, that's our small business incubator. We've got a little small, I shouldn't say little, 20,000 square foot small business incubator in the industrial park. That's where we bring in folks with a good idea and we help them start a business. And Exhibit A would be the pretzels. We have a pretzel manufacturer in the Enterprise Center now, and there's 3 different kinds of pretzels on the table there. You can test them and
they're really good.
See what you think. Yes, yeah, so that's super exciting. At the Enterprise Center, I have a mascot. My little goose has been running around out there all summer long, standing in front of my door and walking around the sign and going up and down. I see that thing out there every single day. Standing out in the rain this morning. So
You feeding it?
I haven't, no. He's busy, got his little bill in the grass looking for things all the time, so I haven't thrown anything in front of him yet. So we'll see. Smoky Duke's Pretzels. This was a brother and sister team that, it's Lance and Mari. Lance had just kind of conjured up this thing in his kitchen where he would bring in plain pretzels, and then he developed these different flavors, and then they would go through a smoking process to kind of get the flavors into the pretzels. And so they don't actually make the pretzels, they just bring them in and then flavor them up with this smoking. And they've got the 3 flavors that are just fantastic. So they've been out there since March, April, May, somewhere in there. So they're really at the beginning, but these things are going out. I just hear rave reviews all the time, and this could be a really big thing. I mean, it could be good. My other company that's out there right now, it's called Laser Dynamics. They've been out there for a while. They do laser marking and engraving. They do a lot of stuff with medical devices that get implanted because it all has to have certain markings on it or whatever. So that's kind of what they do. And then pretty much anything you can think of, they can use a laser and put markings on it. And then I just last week, 2 weeks ago, I talked with another company. It would be kind of a plastics. They've developed some biodegradable plastics. And so it's a bunch of PhD guys from the University of Minnesota that want to start this business. So I'm talking with them. We'll see if we can bring them in, and we'll see what happens. Business recruitment in general, I didn't have anything to do with this one. There's going to be a new data center coming out to the industrial park. You have all these apps on your phone. You have artificial intelligence taking hold now. That uses immense amounts of computing power and immense amounts of power. So this building, it's not going to be very big. It's only 7,200 square foot building. That little thing is going to become the single largest power user in Hutchinson. It's going to use more power than 3M. It's just all these computer servers doing whatever they do. So that's going to be on 5th Avenue. It's going to be right across the street from the charter school, basically, out in the industrial park. And that one will take off probably next year. I think that'll get built. So we'll see. Another one we have coming in the town is called Cannabis Chem Lab, because now, that's all been legalized, but all this stuff needs to be tested just to make sure it's safe. Make sure, the law says it can only have a certain level of potency and all this in the cannabis. And so that's what these guys do, is they test all this stuff to make sure it's safe, make sure there's no foreign substances in there, make sure it's below the threshold for potency, all that stuff. So they're in the middle of purchasing a building right now in Hutchinson. They're going to be outfitting that over the next few months, make it all into a ginormous laboratory. And I think,
Main Street or anything?
no, there'll be, you remember where New Dimension Plating was? That's where it'll be, in that building on 3rd Avenue Northwest. And then I think they're aiming for January, February to get this thing open. And they're super excited. This one's actually going to be pretty neat because it's going to be about 30 jobs, and it's all chemistry people. So we're going to have a lot of lab coat types running around. I met with their recruiter person, and they said, yeah, we're going to really target the Centers for Disease Control in Georgia because the federal government's laying off all these CDC people. So they're thinking we can corral a bunch of these folks and get them moved up to Minnesota. So there might be some Georgia accents running around here a year from now. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I think that'd be something else. And then Tiger Path. Tiger Path, that's kind of our answer for skilled workforce development, and it's really focused on the high school, is helping young people understand where the jobs really are, what are the opportunities, how much these things pay. When I was in high school, all the messaging was go to college, go get that 4-year degree. But the reality is that 75% of all the jobs in Minnesota is just a 2-year degree or less. Only 25% of the jobs require a 4-year degree. So we're sending a whole bunch of people to go get jobs that are not there. And then on the other side, we don't have enough technically trained people to do the jobs that are there. So that's kind of what we're working on with Tiger Path. This has been ongoing. This could be a whole separate talk because this is a lot of stuff going on with this. My most recent little gambit is a year ago, basically a year ago, hired Lauren Lindemeyer. She's a junior, 17 years old. She's my Women in the Workforce intern. Because I'm thinking two things. One, we don't have enough women in leadership, right? I mean, you just look system-wide, who are the senior leaders pretty much everywhere? It's mostly guys, not as much women, no women on the city council, no women on the EDA board, no women on the EDA finance team. Why not, right? And so part of it is we want to help Lauren and her peers realize the opportunities and that they can actually do this. So to that end, I had her go out and interview women leaders all over the community. How did you get into this position? What should I be thinking about? How do I do this? All this stuff, because we want to build leaders and make connections, because that's the other half of it, is you got to know the right people if you're going to get into these leadership things. So we sent her out to do a lot of interviews. I sent her out to do a lot of touring of our manufacturers just to get a handle of what does manufacturing look like in 2025. And then her other job was to recruit her peers to be the networker, or the influencer, I guess is the word, amongst her high school pals and get them to take technical education classes. So she rallied up a whole bunch of gals to take welding, for example, because there's lots and lots of jobs. Welding, electrician, plumbing, there's thousands and thousands of jobs. There's no reason whatsoever that the gals can't do this. They can totally do this. And they just happen to pay pretty darn good. They're good paying jobs, good paying careers. So she recruited 42 girls to take welding classes. So there's like one section of the welding is just all gals. No guys, no boys in there at all. And then other gals sprinkled about. So I mean, there's more girls taking welding over at Hutchinson High School today than in any time in history. And I would argue probably more girls at Hutchinson High School taking welding than any other high school in Minnesota. So that I think is super cool. The welding instructor, he tells me, he says, my best students every year are the gals because they listen. The boys, they're busy trying to impress each other. The gals are there to learn. So, I mean, there's a real difference. So we'll see. I'm working on hiring a new Women in the Workforce intern, hopefully get her on board in the next month or so, and we'll see if we can keep going. So the EDA, we're working on a ton of stuff. It's downtown redevelopment, housing projects, new business formation, business recruitment, childcare, workforce development. There's more, but it's a lot. Okay, all right. I'm going to say thanks for having me, and
Thank you.
we'll do this again sometime. Yeah, thank you.